So I finished Sex Education.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So we had kind of talked about our favorite characters. So let's start there real quick. Tell me about who your favorite character is and about their arc.
Okay. So I'm really fresh. So for me, I'm like I have to kind of like remember. So
Hmm.
there's Maeve. Maeve
Yes.
has always been my favorite. I just love her. I want to be her. I just think she reminds me more of you than she does of me because
Thank
of
you.
like your style and like just kind of whatever. I
Our
feel
willingness
like
to tell people to fuck off.
yeah. And so but I also like her like she's she's still like very vulnerable. I won't say vulnerable, but
I think
she's
they did
like
a
good.
really good job of like
Yeah.
creating depth to her, like the
Yeah.
background of how she came to be this.
Yeah, like she has a lot of like vulnerability and um
Hmm.
fragility and stuff that I like. Um
Yes. I
who
like, yeah,
else?
fragility is a really good way of, yeah.
Yeah, I really like her friend
Amy. I
Amy,
remember the
thank
name.
you.
I don't know why, because I love her, but when we were talking about it the other day, her
I
name
couldn't
completely
remember
slipped my
either.
mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's, Amy. I'm not
because they
going to
call her Ames.
Yeah, Ames, that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I just love her because I love their
Yes.
relationship and I just love that she's just like she reminds like that's like me and you.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I think it can flip flop on who is which, but like the
Exactly. It's
dynamic, I
not,
feel like,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Because it's like, I'm just more like, I don't know, I'm just more like aloof and just kind of like, like she is. But like when you need her, she's like right there.
Yeah.
I love her and she's just always, um, like Maeve is trying to help keep her like in check about like her sexual
Hmm.
assault and like, hey, how are you doing? Like, you don't have to do that. And like, you should get help. And I liked that. Um,
I like that she does it without it having to be this whole big ordeal. They're just kind of like on the quad, like in front of the school. And she has this moment where she's like, Amy, you should seek help. But like along the way, you can
mhm.
see her just kind of like silently supporting her
Yeah.
because Amy didn't like it was so hard for her to like acknowledge that what she'd experienced was sexual assault
Yes.
in season two, that if she'd constantly kind of been like reminding her of what that was, it would have just really hurt her worse than she already was.
Yeah, it was a
I
good
Yeah.
yeah. It was a good example of like someone getting sexually assaulted and being like, "What?" Because it
Yeah.
is kind of like that's the attitude around it. And I thought
Hmm.
that that was nice. And then and then realizing how much it did affect her and her relationship,
Hmm.
so and her body.
I'll
Um
never forget that's like the scene from season two when she's like crying because she can't get on the bus.
yeah.
And she doesn't understand still, but
Yeah.
she's just like sobbing, saying, I can't get on the bus, I can't get on the bus. She's
Yeah.
late for school almost every day that week because she's walking.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, I love the fight that they had though, also because of the way that it resolved itself.
Remind me.
So Amy is actually pretty wealthy, and so she had paid for Maeve's
Oh,
ticket
yes.
to go to France, and Maeve found it kind of like affronting because she doesn't like to ask for help, and so they got in this like pointless spat. Not pointless in that like they were both coming from honest places, but just like pointless because anyone who's been in that situation before knows like once you're outside of it, you're like, God, why was I fucking arguing over that? Like
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
feel bad afterwards on both sides.
Yeah.
But the fact that like their resolution is just like Maeve runs up and she's like, I'm sorry, I've been a total dick.
Yeah.
And Amy's like, me
Yes.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're just both like, I'm sorry, I was this and I was that." And then they just like are okay with that
Yeah.
and they like make up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also really liked I don't know any of their names. Um the one you like, forget it.
Adam.
Adam.
Oh, I love
I really like Adam and I really like Eric. And I know I support them not being together.
same.
They
Same.
don't fit.
they were young love, where
Yeah.
it's you're trusting somebody to explore new things with. But I like that they didn't stay together,
Hmm.
because we've got the like true love kind of trope, the soulmate trope with Otis and Maeve, because they spent the whole
Yeah.
last 3 seasons pining over each other. And so it was nice to kind of see like that full circle with their relationship. um I don't like the way it happened, but I think it makes sense that it did.
Yeah. I liked that. I liked the conversation they had on the bridge when they were breaking up,
Yes.
because Eric, because Adam kind of assumed that Eric made a mistake,
Yeah.
like that he didn't mean it. And Eric was like, no, I don't regret it, you know? And I
Yeah.
think that's important because it was something that, like, like you said, they're young love. They're learning how to like navigate being gay, especially in
Yeah.
like their culture, their specific cultures and stuff. And it's like, this was like something Eric needed to do, even though it
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily like kosher, but it's like they're young. Like I kind of
Yeah.
give them that. I
I
wouldn't
also
do it a
think,
second time, but
yeah, exactly. I think that's one of the things that bothers me, is that Eric was dating that French kid. I can't remember his name. The French kid in season 2,
Raheem.
Raheem. Thank you. And kind of like dumped him, left him for Adam after like
Yeah.
openly professing their feelings for each other in front of the entire school. And so I think that's why it rubs me the wrong way, is because like then another something better comes along and Eric did it. And the thing is, like, I don't hate Eric. I just keep hating what he's doing.
Well,
Um,
I think it was he he wanted to get with Adam because he was really excited for him.
yeah,
I think more as a friend
yeah.
of like, oh, like he's like gay and he wants to like come out and like do it and like I could show him how.
And I think
And
there was like a certain level of almost like reclaiming his power after Adam bullied him in season 1,
yeah, maybe.
especially because Adam ends up kind of being the submissive partner.
Yeah, cuz Eric saw more in Adam than anyone else
Mhm.
did, right? So
Yeah,
so really um Eric was kind of Adam's only resource to like this
yeah,
world. And so I think it was really important for Adam to be in that relationship. And I think it was, but I also think it was important for Eric to realize that he doesn't have to stay there.
yes,
And
yes,
then,
100%.
yeah, so I was excited and I'm kind of excited for Adam and Raheem.
Same. I like, okay, I don't
They fit
want them
more.
to get together. I don't want them to get together, but I want them to be really good friends, the same way
Yeah.
that like him and Ola are.
Hmm.
Because we find out a couple of times throughout the season that they still chit chat. My guess is they, like, filming wise, it was just easier to keep them separate. But like, I going back to Eric's point where he's like, I don't regret it. I don't think he realized it until they were having that conversation on the bridge, which is why I think that conversation
Hmm.
was important, because it can feel really shitty, not coming from experience. I should clarify that. It can feel really shitty to like be the other person, or like not be the other person, but to be the person who cheated
Yeah.
if you don't acknowledge why you did it.
Hmm.
Because people cheat for like a
Yeah.
whole like rainbow of reasons.
Yeah.
Um but acknowledging that it wasn't because of Adam, but rather because he's just not who he thinks he is, if that makes sense. Like, he wants to be going out and doing these things. He's just a kid right now. And so it
Hmm.
makes sense that they would fit right now, because they can't always get into clubs. They can't always
Yeah.
go to certain spaces Eric could where Eric could be like a little bit more flamboyant, like he wants to, a little bit more
Yeah. Like it made me
dramatic and
so
theatric.
happy when he was like
Yeah.
in his bed and he had his like sparkling like eyeshadow on. He was just like looking at himself in the mirror and that was just that like made me
He felt
happy
better.
because
Yeah.
he was kind of trying to be with Adam
Yeah.
and making Adam feel comfortable and he needs
Yes.
to feel like
I
himself, you
think
know.
I agree. I think him and Adam are just very, very clearly a different space in different places on their like journey,
Mm-hmm.
because Eric spent the last 2 seasons figuring out who he is as a gay man, whereas Adam's just towing it into like figuring out his bisexuality.
Mm-hmm.
And like having those experiences where he got to dress up in Eric's room and they dolled him up and everything, those were good for him, because he has that moment where he's like, I'm actually quite pretty, where he feels,
I loved that
something.
yeah
Which is why I love the dog show at the end too, because you can just see how proud he is of himself. Even though he didn't win, he got like a standing ovation, which is still great, which would not have happened in real life, but it's still like a sweet moment in the show. And he's coming into himself. So even though Eric and him didn't work out, Eric still kind of gave him the key to the door.
Yeah, like
of like
he
being able to find
melted
himself
a little
past.
bit.
Yes, yeah.
Like that hard exterior is like melting a little bit, and you're like seeing a little bit more to him behind his eyes and stuff, which was like almost a little, I don't want to say frightening, but it was like jarring coming from him, because he's such a hard, like he was like season 1, you think he's just this like alpha white man, and then all of us
in season 1,
he is, yeah, and then you start seeing this like gooey like little queen.
I actually, so this is the reason that I love Adam as a character, because they do a really good job of establishing him as this hyper masculine figure, or this like attempted hyper masculine figure in season 1. And then in season 2, they really flesh out the why.
Yeah.
And I think like his arc and like his family's arc throughout the entire series has been one of my favorites, because you see very clearly that it's relationship with his father. Because you kind of see that in season 1, because his father is like head teacher and everything.
Yeah.
And
then in season 2, his father's father.
Yes, exactly. So
in,
well, no, you're good. So in season 2, you see that like his father's like that everywhere. His father's like that with his mom / wife. His father is like sending him to military school, and so you can kind of see him almost breaking a few times.
Yeah.
And then his wife leaves, and season 3 is like what season 2 was for Adam. I think, oh God, what's the actor's name? The actor who plays Adam, I think it's Connor or something, does a really good job of alluding to that inside stuff. So when you had the whole kind of like subplot where Otis tells him, well, don't look at people when you talk to them. If you have to say something that's hard, then turn around.
Yeah.
And so he's finally like able to ask the teacher for help. He's able to ask Eric to be a top for their first time.
Yeah.
Those things were almost like foreshadowed, and some of like he just stops talking sometimes, and you're like, oh, I get it now. He wants to. He just literally doesn't know how.
Yeah. I love that. I would love to put my dick in you.
Yes.
Oh, that made me so happy. I was like, I just want someone to say that to me. Not just anyone.
Yeah.
Not just anyone, but yeah.
Yeah. And then so surprisingly, I kind of loved Otis and Ruby. I'm glad it didn't last.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they would have lasted. I think it was a strong ship. I don't think it would have lasted, but I love that he helped her get vulnerable, because she was a total bitch in season 1.
Yeah.
And so like in the same way that we saw the softer side of Adam the bully, we got to see the softer side of Ruby the bully.
Yeah.
In a really nice way.
I liked that scene when she says, I love you. And she's laying down in her bed and she has no makeup on, and she's absolutely gorgeous. Like she's more beautiful because she has no makeup on.
I know.
And it was so, she's
so gorgeous.
It was so telling of like the scene. And that's her literally for the first time telling someone that she loves them.
It's quite literally makes it like a raw scene.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think that was on purpose.
Yeah. And then she kind of had mentioned that she, like her friends had never seen her house. And it's
Mhm.
that moment when she decides to like text them her address and they come over. They don't say
Mhm.
anything about her living situation. They don't say anything about her dad.
Mhm.
They just come over and they console her, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was like, yeah, it was a good season. It was a really good
Yeah, it
season,
was a
which
good season.
it's surprising because shows like this have a tendency to fall off or like really fall apart. But I think their biggest strength has always been their ability to really carve out why these kids are the way that they are and their
Yeah.
interactions with each other.
Well, and it's planned out well. Like you said with
Yeah.
Adam, like they start that in season 1 and then
Hmm.
like he still has so much further to go. Like and I
Yeah.
do think it really helps having like a common theme, which is sex education.
Yeah.
Um that like I think you're not going to run out of like material or like
Yeah.
feel like it's lost its integrity because it's always got the same message. But yes, and then just having like a really good character development.
I think Adam and Maeve are my favorite that have gotten developed because I mean, well, we've talked about Adam, but like with Maeve, you constantly see her like overcoming her potential for like repeating what is it like the generational trauma
Mm-hmm.
with her like from her mother. And so like season 2 ended with her calling CPS on her mom, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was huge. That was really big because it showed just how willing she was to not let that be her life and to make sure that it wasn't her sister's life. Um, and so that was another like subplot that I really loved this season
Was
because it
with her mom.
yeah, her and her mom, because you
Yeah,
can
that was really
see
sad when she had to take Elsie
yeah, Elsie.
like away from her mom,
Yeah,
and
that scene was hard,
that was really
which is
rough.
funny because at the very beginning of the season I had been all like fuck her mom, like her mom's being so terrible to her, her mom doesn't have her best interest in heart. And then like
Yeah,
her interaction there at the end, the one in the bush when her mom gives her the money to go to America, and two, the when they're on the pier trying to save
yeah,
Elsie. Both times I cried because I was like, do I suddenly feel bad again that she's losing her like, but then it's like because she's losing her mom again,
yeah.
like to get her mom back she kind of has to lose her, if that makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
because her mom can't help herself and be a mom at the
Yes.
same time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes, very very good third season. It's already been renewed for season 4 too,
Yeah.
so
That's
I'm
exciting.
really I'm really excited.
That's
I
good.
was
Well,
worried.
we watched this like in London.
Yes,
Like
yeah,
not together, but like at the same
while we
time.
were out there, yeah.
Yeah, and then last year the new season came out and I remember chatting about it. So, and here we are
Here we are again,
3
and we'll
years
be
later.
doing it again when season 4 comes
we're
out.
we're not going anywhere.
No, we're not. What was I gonna say? Oh, also their cold opens are always the best.
Yes.
The first one this time, okay, so the first one was so much more sex than any of the other ones, and I
Mhm.
was not prepared. In fact, I was like a little bit drunk. I was like, let's watch the first episode of the new season with my roommate Vinny. And then it just starts with slow sex montage,
Yeah.
like slowly picking up until it's just like flashing images of
Just
sex. And I was like, I'm so
well, until
sorry.
it's just like orgasm, orgasm, orgasm.
Yes,
Like,
yes. And he doesn't watch the show.
yeah.
So this was like the first thing that he had seen. And I was like, I wish I could say it's not like this, but it's not usually this bad. So I
I was like, but
sincerely
it's
apologize.
not like this.
Yeah, but it's not
like
like this.
this. Yeah, I remember I had my friend watch like the first episode of the first season, and I think there's like, yeah, cold open like
Yeah.
sex scenes. And I was like, oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, pay no attention to the sex on
Yeah.
the screen. And I even kind of, I warned him, I was like, most of these opening scenes start with just like sex between a couple of characters. He didn't really say anything, and I was like, okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. We'll just turn it on. And it was just so much worse than I could have anticipated.
And then your parents walk in and they're like, what are you watching?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, and then the nightmare continues, and I'm not wearing pants.
Yep.
My math test is late. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I mean, who could ever get tired of Gillian Anderson?
Oh, I know.
And her lovely Scandinavian baby daddy? Question mark.
Yes.
Jakob is.
Oh yeah. Question mark. Ugh.
Yeah.
I was kind of excited about that actually, because now that her and Yakov have like more of a chance, like he probably would raise
Yes.
someone else's.
There was the
son,
moments between
daughter.
like him and Otis where I was like, he's preparing to be Otis's father, which was honestly, as Otis needs it, because his real dad is a fucking asshole. And he admits it at the end of, I remember I watched the very end of the last season to prep for this so I could remember where we were coming from. And so I do love that one of the last scenes Otis has with his dad is where his dad, he's like, how do I end up not like you? And he's like, just don't be an asshole. I'm an asshole. Don't read my book. Don't be like me.
Yeah.
And then he has the really sweet moments with Jakob. Yeah. And it warms my heart. It grows my cringe heart 3 sizes every time.
Yep.
But I agree. I feel like they left it open-ended, so maybe it's not like a no, he's not the father, but maybe like an inconclusive test. That's what I'm hoping. But
yeah,
the fear he had at losing her, I think, was really telling. And the fact that it happened shortly after one of his, what turned into like a personal therapy session for him, where he admitted to like having trust issues because his ex-wife, his former wife, like cheated on him and everything.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been able to go into motion without her believing that it was his. Because I think they are really good together, and I think that they are meant to be together. And I think, but it was nice to see that Jakob wasn't just a perfect specimen.
Yes. I needed that.
I can put it.
I needed the rose-colored glasses to be kind of removed. It's not my fault. They show so many scenes of him just like hammering, building. He's wearing all those like flannel big jackets, and he's got to be like over 6 feet tall.
So many tattoos on his arms, and his hair is always in this like perfect like pompadour, like
But that being said, I think regardless of what those lab results say, even if they have some conflict around it, I think he's going to stay.
Yeah.
I refuse to believe otherwise.
Yes.
And if it doesn't happen in the show, I will rewrite it in my head.
Yeah.